Grid-scale energy storage solutions. What's new on the market? Let's ask our panelists. Please welcome Roee Furman, Managing Director at Doral Energy Tech Ventures, Jakob Bitner, CEO at Voltstorage, and moderating this panel, we are going to welcome Benjamin Kafri, Global Head of Innovation, Client Relations and Partnerships at BloombergNEF. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. So great to be here. Actually, I would like to start with a thank you to the Energy Tech team and for pulling such an amazing event. I've been also in Poland and great people around, so thank you, and thank you for giving us a stage for a super interesting and important topic. On grid storage, so we are just kind of seeing records level of grid storage activity. Last year we saw 40 giga, which was a record level. The year before that was a record level. We expect next year, 2024, to be at 60 giga, so another 40% increase. But 10 years ago, it wasn't the case. So maybe I'd like to start with Jakob to share a little bit when you entered the industry, about a decade ago, kind of where were we? And maybe just kind of start from the beginning on why it's important, how things evolved, and kind of get us up to speed on where we are.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Benjamin. So, yeah, we Voltstorage have started quite some time ago, and initially we had to explain people why energy storage is necessary. So that wasn't understood initially. I think this changed dramatically also with electric vehicles. Now we have a very different understanding of why we need flexibility in the market. And the initial drivers of the markets were actually residential installations, so residential batteries, and this is also where our DNA was and where we started off. And now we see the market really shifting, but it comes also with the amount of renewables in the grid. And with the increase in renewables, it becomes very clear that we will need more and more flexibility. And residential storage will not be able to provide this amount of flexibility that we need, and therefore we see huge improvements, or I think not improvements, developments into the utility scale storage scheme, as you said, right? So this year we're expecting 60 gigawatt coming online, and that really changed dramatically, and the market is really evolving. The players, utilities now look at it. For a lot of them, it's still new, right? Because this is not something they have been dealing with or had to deal with. But with more and more penetration of renewables, this is inevitable. And now we are facing kind of new challenges of how to really scale this, what is necessary. We may speak about bankability today. So this kind of journey we have taken over the last 10 years, I'd say, yeah.
Thank you, Jakob. And we're also fortunate to have another industry veteran on the panel, Roee, which actually had two hats. The one of a developer doing a lot actually in multiple regions from renewable to storage, but also kind of looking at the next gen technologies. Roee, from your point of view, how things evolved and what's particular about grid storage comparing to consumer good or EV storage, batteries, and so on?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me, and good morning, everyone. I'm heading the corporate venture arm of Doral Energy. Doral is a global renewable energy developer. So we develop renewable energy projects, and then all of a sudden there is a new technology that pops that's called energy storage, lithium-ion. And it unlocks new opportunities, basically, to generate energy during the day when the sun is shining, and then to continue and discharge energy during the day after we stored it. So it's unlocking new applications and new opportunities to decarbonize the grid, and also to provide more green electricity to consumers. The nature of everybody speaks about batteries, and batteries all over the place, right? From our iPhone, computers, consumer electronics, as you mentioned, and also up until large stationary storage that store a large amount of energy. But the the backbone of it, or the core, are sometimes different technologies or different chemistries that attach to that. And sometimes we tend to say energy storage, and like one size fits all, but it is really not the case. We have different applications for energy storage, and as a result, we sometimes need different technologies to serve these applications. Jakob also was saying something that is relatively new technology. So think about it for a second. It's become a mainstream technology like lithium ion, but from a utility perspective, it's really, really new. It means that we have more distributed energy resources in different places, and the centralized approach that they used to have, all of a sudden we have distributed generation, we have storage components that we can do some arbitrage game with it, and all of a sudden the grid needs to adapt to different nodes of energy that comes into play. And for them, it's new. And from the banks, it's also new, because all of a sudden they need to finance a project that should operate as an infrastructure play for 15 to 20 years, whereas cyclability and cycle life of batteries, it is a challenge during 15 years of a lifetime of a project. So we need also to educate these, not only the utilities, but also the financiers. And this is without even entering into the long-duration energy storage, that we want to introduce new applications for 8 hours, 12 hours, 20 hours, 40 hours of storage, whereas the utilities only just now trying to model and simulate and realize how this 4 hours of storage is really integrated into their new scheme. So we are in a very interesting moment of transition towards more green infrastructure. But one thing is for sure, we are looking into a massive market. Like by 2030, I think we need trillions, like 1 terawatt hour, or at least more than terawatt hour of storage. So there is a massive opportunity here on the one hand, and technology could definitely play a significant role into that.
So thank you. So I want to kind of deep dive a bit more kind of with your developer hat. I mean, what's your view as a developer, and what would you recommend to some kind of startup and technology developers, technology startups here in terms of, from a developer's point of view, what's important for them to take in account? And you mentioned bankability and some of these areas.
Yes. So first of all, needs to understand that every country has different energy market dynamics and regulation. And even in the US, I think everybody speaks about the US, but it's more than 30-something energy markets in the US alone. And in some cases, there are business cases for storage, and in some states, there aren't. So, for example, Texas, California is more advanced. PJM networks, MISO, slightly less in terms of the business cases. Most of the startups speaks on their tech, which is neutral to do, right? This is our chemistry, this is how it performs, this is how it scales, here's the graphs. Brilliant, very, very nice. But when it comes to actual procurement decision by a corporate or developer that need to actually buy this technology down the line, and he cares about the performance, because you want to make sure that the specs meets the criteria of the project, which means cycle life, energy density, and so on, safety considerations. But he also cares about how this product that he's buying will be financed by the banks and be insured by the insurance companies. So sometimes just selling a better product or a better chemistry will not be appealing to developers, because they care about CapEx, they care about the financial closings, and from the banks. And as a result, as a startup, you need to speak these two languages. You need to go into the scale-up phases of scaling up your chemistry, de-risking the chemistry, and also, in parallel, start speaking the bankability language, the project setting integration language, which is it's not neutral to do, because in some cases, here's the tech, let's sell the product. But in order to sell the product, you need to come up with very creative financial support, and sometimes even to think about hybrid models, financial models, for example, not just selling technologies, but also providing an entire financial suite to finance this project for your end customers, or to do some hybrid models with them. So this is in a very high level.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's more depth.
Thank you. So kind of diving into the technology. I mean, a lot of the current project we see kind of focus on lithium-based technologies and so on. Why do you think is that, and what do you think needs to happen to see more diversity in terms of solution being applied?
Well, first of all, it's available. So it's there. We can buy lithium-ion systems, right? And we can put them together, and we can scale them. And there's also quite some experience already with lithium-ion systems, even though for a lot of utilities it's still new, but the technology's been around for some time. And certainly availability is the most important factor. We see also the scalings because the prices came down significantly, right? And those are important factors, and the characteristics of technology. So lithium-ion batteries are solving a particular problem. Very often capacity and power are very closely related. So there may be 2 hours charge discharge duration. We see 4 hours coming online. And this is the problems they need to be solving now in the grid, where we are in the energy transition phase, I'd say, right? So in Germany, for example, we had 55% renewables in the grid, roundabout. And they're solving, first of all, frequency regulation was the first application they have been solving to really provide stability, frequency regulation in the grid. And now we see more and more coming online, something like intraday trading, right, arbitrage trading. And those are the problems the grid does have at the moment. And these batteries are actually perfect to solve these issues. And they're also easily deployable. So they can be decentrally deployed easily. And this is why we see this kind of battery now coming online, which is great. In the long run, if you want to really get to 100% renewables, we will need long-duration energy storage technologies to really provide some form of base load for renewables. And this is something we will not be able to do with lithium-ion batteries. It will be simply too expensive. It will be prohibitively expensive. And we will probably not have enough materials to do that, to do a mobile transition and to do also an energy transition with lithium-ion batteries. So there will be new technologies coming online. There's also sodium-ion replacing or substituting, I'd say, lithium-ion technologies and putting off pressure from the material perspective, from the resource perspective. But we will also see a bunch of other technologies solving the long-duration energy storage space to provide baseload power for several days, so for 24, 48 hours or even longer. And this is what we do with Voltstorage with our iron salt battery. We use the cheapest electroactive material in the world, which is iron. And we can decouple power and capacity and provide really a baseload power for renewables. And this market doesn't exist yet, but it's very obvious it will evolve. And we see also first pilots coming online. And in the second part of this decade, we will see a lot of projects coming online. Yeah.
So actually kind of just double on that in terms of looking to the future. What do you think the role of the regulator or the policymakers is in terms of navigating all the various needs to a net zero world?
I believe we need clear regulation that the technology open. So we need to put a price tag on flexibility. So this doesn't exist yet, and we need to create markets that are open to all forms of technologies. And I believe batteries are just perfect to scoop up a lot of that. They're fast to deploy. They can be very decentrally deployed, co-location with renewables, or also as state-alone, for example, old coal power plant sites where they're perfectly fitted. But we need clear regulations. We need we're speaking about business cases, right? So we need to have business models that allow a predictability that the investment to these assets will pay back in 10 years or 15 years. So there's a planability for utilities or project developers. And we see that at the moment, lithium-ion is really creating the market itself because they're solving a problem. But for long-duration energy storage, we don't have a price for flexibility. We see in the UK coming a cap and floor mechanism into place that is being discussed. Germany is discussing a capacity market, but we will need to have clear incentives, and we need to put a price tag on flexibility if we really want to decarbonize our grids.
Roee, do you agree?
Yeah, and not from regulation per se, but I think that some corporates also pushing ahead this adoption of LDES. You can see this on the latest tender of Google, Microsoft, and Uxor in the US, looking for LDES solutions. So like bypassing the mainstream, so to speak, 4-hour storage of lithium-ion storage towards like a full decarbonization of their digital assets. And these data centers consume like countries, basically. So there are some areas that you can do creative stuff, even with bilateral approach with a corporate into a project setting with self-consumption. But yes, I think it's a matter of it's a real transition. I mean, we expect the utilities to do these several jumps at the same time. And where they are only just today getting used into this new capabilities of lithium of the 4 hours of storage. So, it's a gradual transition, especially in a market when, energy is the most basic things in life, right? And we want to have it reliable all the time. The oil and gas giant sometimes speaks about, the trilemma between reliability and affordability and so on. But one thing that we need to put our eyes on is that we will still strive towards the green piece of it, and like in the full decarbonization of the grid. And here comes to play the LDES with the solar panels that generate electrons, and the wind, and maybe nuclear. In some places it's works, in some places less. Yeah.
So now with your kind of tech investor hat, kind of what are the interesting technologies we see, and what are you looking for? What are kind of the right type of opportunities for someone like you to invest?
Yeah, so we invested in several energy storage technologies through different approaches. We try to think from the application, what's the application that this technology should serve, and then trace back to what technology can unlock this application. So we decided not to compete head-to-head with the lithium-ion per se for the 4 to 5, 6 hours of storage, because it's really, really, really tough to do that. We have the Chinese giants, we have some players in Europe manufacturing cells, so it will be really hard. So in that portion, we decided to invest in manufacturing innovation processes, and how do we reduce the energy consumption, how do we reduce the carbon footprint of these gigafactories, so and reducing the need for materials. So we've invested in adionics, and also in a dry electrode coating company, AM Batteries. And when it's come to pure play systems like storage, so we did some bets on long duration energy storage. I think there's one emerging chemistry and trend, which is quite interesting, that can compete with this lithium ion technology today, is on the sodium ion, which might be very, very interesting. There are some triggers to do that. One, players that are saying, Mayday, Mayday, there is not enough lithium in the world, mobility will take all the lithium in the world, we need to come with other solutions. And there are other people that think that humanity will figure this out eventually. So one way to figure this out is through recycling and reintroducing, or upcycling, reintroducing this lithium-ion batteries, spent materials back to the supply chain. And one direction is sodium. So sodium ion is very interesting. You can see different chemistries there, from polyanion or multi-layer oxide, which we believe that these two are better approaches than the Persian blue. We will pay the price there in energy density, but at the same time, we will enjoy from better safety, better cyclability, and also cost reduction over the lithium. So I do see sodium as a very interesting emerging tech for this intraday application to 4 to 6 hours of storage.
Cool. So we are starting to run out of time, but towards the end, I want to kind of look to the future. Another big change from 5 years ago, there was 1 or 2 countries with net zero targets. We are now with around 90% of world emission under some sort of net zero objectives from government. So under all scenarios, it's either going to be, according to our numbers, business as usual, close to 200 trillion to be invested in the transition by 2050, or closer to 300 trillion. And about half of that will be infrastructure, including grid, but also, kind of storage. So what do you think lays ahead in terms of kind of the coming years? How do you think things will evolve? Where are the opportunities? And what you would recommend to the audience here, investors and tech developers? Jakob, maybe you first, and then Roee.
No, I think there's a huge opportunity that's lying ahead of us. So as I said, there's so much change going on, and there will be a lot of players filling that space. And we see that a lot of the development is happening a lot faster than we anticipated 10 years ago, right? And be it in terms of prices coming down, but be it also in terms of deployment. And if you look at China, how like the output of solar panels that is coming now online, right? And at what prices, then this is way, way faster than we anticipated initially. And therefore, I believe we need to be, change will come a lot quicker than we initially thought, and we need to capture that. And also utilities need to speed up on that process. And I believe that it will not, we cannot just rely on China producing those solar cells, but also batteries. We absolutely need to also invest into assets that are produced here in Europe. And we also need to be investing in hardware that can solve, in particular, other applications such as long-duration energy storage, where there's a wealth of technologies that can actually solve the problem. So it will not just be lithium or sodium-ion batteries, and we can focus on that. And I believe this is a huge opportunity that we need to capture, where we can also be more resilient than from China, I'd say. Yeah.
Roee?
Yeah. I think that the new build-out of these gigafactories will require lots of innovation embedded from the build-out and operation, because when a new factory comes online, until it reaches to a very nice utilization, it takes a few years. So the throughput at the beginning is relatively low, and then they scale up even with that. So there is a lot of new build-out of these gigafactories. So anything with regards to automating the process, making more efficient, reducing the need for materials in these processes, so manufacturing innovation. This is first. The second, so we're speaking about, generation side and also storage side, different type of storage, different type of applications. And then someone need to manage an orchestra of this beauty. So energy management solution is very, very crucial, and sophisticated algorithms that can monitor and also improve the grid connectivity, and also later on unlock trading applications. And if you think about it, there are some industries that went through transformation, like the banking system went through digital transformation, the insurance went through digital transformation, healthcare industry is still going through a digital transformation. The energy market is really in the beginning of its digital transformation. As a result, there is plenty of ways to innovate and to integrate with that. My advice to startups, do not focus only on scaling up and proving the tech. Go head-to-head from the get-go on speaking commercial with end clients, with the banks, with the insurance. Make sure that you understand what there is, how a project will eventually look like, and then trace back to how do you design your product. And keep it simple, because simplicity wins. I think that what we can learn from the solar industry, solar panels, inverters are relatively easy to install. And the barrier to entry is relatively low. So your storage solutions should be simple to integrate. You can sometimes see this massive construction work with pipes all over the place. You may see one-off, two-off type of project, but not as a mainstream. So lithium win for some reason from the performance, but also because it's simple and cost, obviously. Yeah, and we're just at the beginning of this transformation into clean, green infrastructure that we are going to see in the upcoming years. So it's the right timing.
It's the right timing. So with that, we're out of time, but I also want to thank you both for sharing your thoughts and a fantastic panel. And yeah, I mean, I think thank you everyone for listening.